And good evening and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olsen, your host, and I'm delighted to welcome back to the set Dr. John Foley, who's running for State Rep Waterford and a little sliver of Montville.
Yes.
So Doc, welcome back.
Great to be. I can't even believe the last time we were here. I had the sign behind me. I was wet behind the ears. I didn't know what I was doing, but it's been a great bunch of months. It really has.
Well, now you got your shirt on, so you've got your, now we know who
I know.
you are.
This is more for me when I look in the mirror. Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in tonight, actually in a pinch for me. So I thank you very much. And we talked just a little bit ago. You were up in Montville, which is part of your district.
Yeah, I spent the day, the afternoon up there, and it was great. I mean, you know, the feeling that you get in Waterford and Montville are just different. Just in terms of like the more rural nature of Montville, it's just, you know, they have very long driveways. Like I can just tell you that from somebody who walked to a lot of houses today. Very nice long driveways, but the people were awesome. I've just met great people, and I've had a lot of fun.
Well, that's, I think, important is to have fun, and you'll also learn a lot about your community as well as Montville, and most folks aren't shy about sharing what they think is right or what is not working.
Yes. Yeah, you know, it's interesting that if the instructions when we started were, you know, knock on the door, say hello, say whatever, and then be done with it really quick because you've got a lot of doors to answer. And, you know, I usually try to take advice, but that I've not followed that advice. I feel like one of the fun things about doing what I'm doing is meeting people and talking to them. And for that matter, also hearing what it is that they're thinking. What's working for them, what's not. What are their concerns and their fears? And people are really, really nervous about the affordability of the state and what it means for their kids and their kids' future, what it means for their retirement, whether they can afford their homes. Our taxes are, you know, the third highest in the country. And so when you look at that and you say, hey, I'm 82 years old, I lost my spouse, I'm by myself, I'm on a fixed income, and the property taxes keep going up. What's going to happen? And so it's not just a mathematical formula of trying to work it out and solve the problem. It's dealing with 82 years old, spent their whole life living here. They've been in Connecticut for 82 years. And they put their whole future into this town. They raise their children. They have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And now they're wondering where they're going to go. You shouldn't ever have to worry about that at 82 after years of playing by the rules. And so I think, you know, so, and you don't feel that as much, but when you're sitting there and you're watching them, or they cry, or they're reminiscing about something, and you sit there and you go, wow, this is a big deal. And I think it's good that a couple of people today said to me, oh, I'm really honored that you came to my house. This is really nice. I said, stop right there. The honor is in the other direction. Politicians have gotten to feel like it's you who should be doing something for me. And the reality is this is a huge job application that I'm doing, and it's your job whether you want to hire me. But I work for you. And that may seem corny, but you know, I was a cardiologist for many years. I retired. I was not ready to go back to work. I got pulled into it, and thank God I did, because my current competition, who's a socialist, is not representing the values and the feelings of the people in the 38th district.
Now, is he you get that same feedback from the folks you're speaking to? Are they dissatisfied, or are they looking for somebody new, or are they looking for change?
Right.
What are the issues that the people are talking to you? What's important to them? I mean, as a candidate, you'll have issues that
Right.
you're running on.
Right.
And sometimes they jive with your constituents, and sometimes they don't.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting because when I was first starting, in fact, when I was here, and you very nicely didn't get into any topics of specifics about problem solving for issues, which you don't have to be as kind to me today. I'm getting to know the issues, but I had my list of things that I thought we were going to be addressing as a campaign and eventually as a legislator. And I was pretty confident I had it right. I really didn't. I had a couple things right. One is affordability. That is, by and large, bar none, the number one concern on people, affordability.
And how was that defined?
Correct. Taxes, right? So we are overtaxed in Connecticut. Our personal income tax is phenomenally high compared across the country. So people's personal incomes are being, and this was supposed to be a temporary tax put on the citizens, I think even before I got here. And then you have property taxes, which keep going up and up and up and up and up, to the point where you have people who are paying property taxes that are like a second mortgage. So how is it, again, getting back to the 82-year-old who has been paying on a house for 60 years. At what point does she own it? And at what point should she be paying less in property taxes? I think those are questions that we have to raise and think about because, frankly, it doesn't seem fair. And second, people on a fixed income, if you change the mill rate, you're doing that and putting people essentially on the street. They can't stay there. So those are the two big things.
And people are forced to sell their home.
Yeah.
It's not like you can sell your home and make a big boatload of dough because it's going to cost you a big boatload of dough to relocate.
Right.
It's not like you're going to sell for $500,000 and buy a house for $100,000.
Agreed.
You'll be lucky to be at $500,000 or more.
Right. Well, we have Rob Rule, who's the first selectman in Waterford. He and I have been working together on a lot of things, whether it be
he's doing a great job, I might.
He really is, and he's been very supportive. But when we had all the trees down and the damage, I worked with him on that. So even though I'm not the legislator, I've been helping where I can, and he and I. And that's why I don't know whether I can announce it, which I won't, but I'll do it the next time when I come back on the show. But we've been working on some fixes for exactly that issue of what do you do when you're really at the point at which you've maxed out what you can afford in terms of property taxes and what can we do about it. And we have some cool stuff. There is that reverse mortgage thing too, where people can do that, which keeps them in the house. So we're looking at ways that we can solve that problem for people, and so I'm getting excited about it. I hope, if everything works out, we'll be able to talk about that soon.
Oh, well, right to the phones here. I like that.
Huh?
Let's just see what we got here. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hey, Marty. How you doing?
I'm well. How you doing?
Good. This is Foley. He represents the 38th district.
I will. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Is there any way you can include the 3rd district of New London in your district?
I don't think
for years, for whatever reason, when they redistrict or whatever, we fall under Groton, and they change that represent. The reason I say that is your comment that you made earlier about how you represent your constituents. 99% of the politicians, mostly of them in D.C., have forgotten that a long time ago who they work for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And part of it for me is simple. It was the way I was raised. Like my dad and my mom had very simple, straight, basic values, and they beat them into me. No, not really, but they got it across to me. The other is that I was a cardiologist. I had the highs and lows, but it was a thrilling profession. It was an amazing ability to sit with patients and families and counsel and help them through the terrible times. I loved what I did for work. And it defined me as work does for so many people. When I retired, I said, I'm done working. So, I'll say to people, it's up to you whether you want to hire me. I hope you do, because I'm excited about this and I know I can make change. But if you decide not to, my life's not over, right? Like, I don't have to have this job. And I think sometimes you see in politicians that they have to win. And if they don't win, it's catastrophic. And so because of that, the way they behave and the way they treat people is less than, I think, cordial. So for me, I say to people, look, when I'm meeting with them, they say, well, I don't agree with you. Well, that's great. I mean, that's what, we still live in a country where we can have that discussion.
Have a civil discourse.
Absolutely. And I hope on November 3rd, when the final vote is tallied, I hope I win. And I'm ready to go. If I don't...
Wish you the best of luck, because I like your attitude towards representing your constituents.
Thank you very much.
I mean, unlike here in New London, where here we are a month away from Sodexo no longer having a contract at the beach, and the city of New London, being New London, doesn't know what they're going to do next.
Oh, no. I'm not aware of that.
Well,
maybe it's a good thing.
In your bailiwick here, but it's... our caller is absolutely correct, and it's symptomatic of the whaling city.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thank you so much. Very kind.
Thank you for calling.
Love calls. Call in if you're listening. Call in, please.
Yep. Well, that's that moves the program. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not just you
that
and
was
me.
fun.
It's, thank you. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, he's down the south end of the city, that caller, and he pays attention.
Yeah. Well, you gotta in a way, because again, I work for you, but this is a company that if you want it to be successful, you also have to make sure that you're getting the maximum from the people who are serving you. And the fact that people have been just, I think, a little too nice has allowed politicians to just kind of do whatever they want to do. And they seem to care a lot in the months leading up to an election, don't they? They're all ears. They're listening. Well, where are they for the rest of the 2 or 4 years, Marty?
Well, it's that's the $1 million question.
Right.
And one of the things I always enjoyed was constituent work. When people call you, and the fact that they call you means that they are confident that you're going to follow up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't necessarily solve the problem, but they know you'll give it the good old college try, as they say.
Yeah.
And do the best you can. And,
we were at the farmers market last night in Montville, and it was so much fun. They had I don't know who the guy was singing, but he was fantastic. The scouts were there, and I'm a Eagle Scout.
Oh, nice.
From a million years ago, and so they had a couple troops there, and I was talking to some of the leaders, and it was like a blast from the past. And then at the end of the night, a bunch of different people came over and said, "Hey, could we take a sign to put on our lawn?" So I'm like, absolutely. So I came with like 8 signs, and they're all gone, which is great. And it made me think, and I don't know whether I said this. Well, I don't think I did on the last show. If I did, I'm getting old.
That's okay. What do you got?
The fact that someone who doesn't, like this gentleman here, I don't think I know him, right? I mean, that he had such kind words really moves me. And last night I had tears a little in my eyes that here are these people who have just talked with me for 5 or 10 minutes, who said, could I take a sign and put it on my yard? Oh my God! I mean, and I it's a wonder to me, like why, and thank you, and I don't know. It's a great opportunity to run for office and to experience people. It was, I think, like being a doctor in a way where it wasn't just taking care of somebody who had a heart attack. It was dealing with how they are going to be able to tackle the rest of their life. Like how do you make it so they're confident that they're going to be okay? That takes a lot of time. But if you do it and you do it well or successfully, that's what makes retirement from medicine the greatest thing ever. Like to be able to look back on that. So anyway, it's I get mushy.
Well, listen, I mean, this is a people business, and it's certainly people remember contact that they've had with you this summer and fall since you've got nominated, years out.
Yeah.
That the fact that you knock down their door, or that you do every cycle that you run in, Doc, I'll tell you, he's out all the time. He's available. He calls back. He follows through, and people appreciate that.
Right.
You know, nothing worse than ignoring the public.
Which seems to me like the basic job description, that people are actually thrilled that that you do all the things. It's like you have a job and you have 4 things that are part of the job, and you do all 4, and someone is like, "Oh my Lord, you did all 4! Congratulations, that's fantastic." People don't get that at work. Like, why should a politician, because they've decided to answer a phone call and solve a problem, that somehow we're supposed to give them a Nobel Peace Prize? This is part of what we do.
Well,
We go to people's homes, we talk to them when they need help.
Yeah. Now, when you're engaging with, when you're out, whether it's at a public event like last evening or door to door, do you find that folks are primarily concerned with local topics in Waterford, Montville, or the literally state issues that may not necessarily be in relation to the community, but to the state or federal for that matter?
Right.
I mean, you know, our president's in the news all the time.
Yes, fair amount. And you know, there's, I will say, my opinion is that there's no one out there who doesn't have an opinion. And so if I focused on people's opinions about Trump, first of all, it would be all that we'd talk about. Second of all, it links up groups of people who, look, if I could control some of the stuff that has come out of Trump's mouth, I would have been doing it from the beginning. But I'm not here to defend, or I'm not here to, you know, celebrate what goes on in the national level. You know, Joe Courtney, we have, you know, Blumenthal, we have federal legislators that are responsible to do that. When I wake up in the morning, I worry about the things like that we've already talked about, which is, are people going to be able to afford staying in the state? I have 3 kids, all of which have already said we can't stay here. We know we can't because it's too expensive. That's terrible. I think about the fact that we have a nuclear power plant in our backyard, yet we are the 2nd highest energy cost in the country. In the country, so we're 2nd to Hawaii. So why is it that a state that has the infrastructure that needs to be built hasn't done it? And so then they've looked at wind turbines. And so a lot of money was made with wind turbines, and they're being put out there. They're ugly, I'm sorry. They are the least efficient of the major forms of energy. They are helpful. And so what I say is, like with most things, there's not one solution. So for energy, to me, nuclear should be at the center of our strategy.
I agree.
It's safe, it's cheap, and it is hugely cost efficient. But then where solar can fill in, either in the personal market, we have solar on our roof. It's the best thing we ever did. But to take up miles and miles of land with solar panels, to me, when you have the ability to do nuclear, doesn't make sense. So you should be strategic, not getting rid of 2 and only keeping 1, but what's the policy? Like, is there a manual somewhere where someone has like a preamble of like, this is what we need, and this is going to be our approach? Or is it just turbines? Why not? Should put them there. 100 years from now, they're still going to be in the same shape they are, because they'll never biodegrade. And the people who are pushing all this stuff, the green folks, I don't understand how the cognitive dissonance allows people to do that, but nonetheless.
Well, when you deal with, like, for instance, the wind, and we've got the staging in London at State Pier, I would just shake my head. I mean, the firm only had to put up, I think, $93 million, and anything over that, the state's in this for hundreds of millions,
Yeah.
and counting,
Right.
and it's not sustainable consistently. I mean,
Right.
if there's no wind, there's no
Correct.
power.
And the kilowatt per hour that comes from that is not high because of that and other reasons. So when you're looking at, I mean, nuclear, which just is a high generator, very low risk method, that's the way we should be. The technology is different. They don't, the big reactors that you see, you know, things have moved dramatically in a different direction. With smaller, they have ones that you can actually put near huge business parks, where they can generate nuclear just for a more local, you know, it's sort of like having your Generac, you know. So why aren't we looking at those things? Why are we settling for? And it's so certain people can run around talking about how renewables and this is great, but it's not efficient.
Yeah. Well, again, back to the wind. I mean, at State Pier they filled in 6 acres, and again, we're the greenies when they're who
Right.
normally would get nervous if you disturb any piece of eelgrass or
Right.
clam,
Right.
and filling in 6 acres, you didn't hear boo.
And they'll wonder where those things are going. They do break down. They don't last forever. They also require petroleum to function in terms of the. So it's like it's not what they're saying it is.
We'll go back to the phones here. Good evening, and you're on the air.
Hey, Marty, I'm back real quick. Another question for your guest, since he's on the topic of nuclear energy. How does he feel about this recent proposed merger with Dominion, and I forget the other company, where they'll have control pretty much along the eastern seaboard? And the article more or less was about the state getting ready to sue the company, Tong and Lamont, because the state will not be able to regulate them like they do other utilities.
Well, that's probably the good news, right? Because their regulatory abilities. I mean, look, when you have electrical bills that with the benefits charge, which should never come back. They've taken it off to make people feel good, but it was not a permanent removal. I say that should never, ever come back. If you look at an Eversource bill, it's like a wish list for the ultra left. They have, you know, money going for research, green research, and they have this and that, whatever. A bill from Eversource should be what a person owes based on the electricity that was generated and provided to them. That is what a bill should be. It is not a list of wishfuls. If the state wants that stuff, then let them line item it and pay for it, but it shouldn't be in the bill. It's not fair, and our energy,
the taxes.
oh, and our costs are again second highest in the state. So we should be getting rid of them. And despite the fact that we haven't regulated really Eversource, they come back at us with an 18 to 19% increase at a time when their profit was the highest, I think, than it's been for a long time. And yet we paid it. So where's the regulation? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was there. I think the combination of those companies seems like, from a distance, and I'm not an expert, but seems like a very good thing. We need to just move on and accept the fact that nuclear isn't 3 Mile Island. It's not Chernobyl. It's not all those things that people want to scare you with. It is a vital energy source at a time when we're talking about AI. And if you want to advance AI, and again, that's a whole probably another conversation, but the Chinese if they win the war on AI, we are in trouble. So like it or not, we are in that game. It requires a huge amount of electricity.
Well, this Dominion merger goes beyond Connecticut, although Connecticut, Lamont, and Tong are all up in arms because
Right.
they know they'll have no way to regulate them. But it also needs, if I remember, it needs North Carolina. There's like 4 other states that have to approve it besides Connecticut before it can even take place.
And I don't know.
With regards to your customer benefit charge, it's just now, for whatever reason, going the other way, a negative amount. But for the longest time, it was almost equal to the supply charge
Yes.
on the bill.
And stay tuned, though, whether it's still goes in that direction, or whether this was a wishful move because it's an election year.
Well, yeah, right, and it's I called about the benefit charge, and basically, it's for the green, like you were talking earlier about the solar panels, green programs, a few other things, but a percentage of that goes for people who can't pay their electric bills.
Right.
And the woman with Eversource, like, well, I guess you could look at it that way. Well, what other way would you look at it?
Right.
I mean,
well, and this was to my, and I don't pretend to know everything about everything, but if my memory serves me, that whole benefit chart came during COVID.
Right.
And it was people were out of work. I mean, it was and so I think it was a really smart thing. It was a kind thing to do to help out.
But when it started out, it was only because one of the biggest things ever, so maybe they were forced to do it, they break down your different charges into percentage of what makes up the bill, supply, delivery, and this customer benefit charge. Yeah. When that started out, it was only about 2, maybe 5% of your bill. Yeah. But when I looked at it one time, I had to call them. It's like, what is this charge that's almost equal to my supply charge?
Yeah.
I mean, what they really should have done with that, it should have been a set fee. That customer benefit charge is based on your usage.
Right. Right. So you're getting penalized twice, right? You're paying for the usage, and then you're paying for the usage.
It should have just been a flat-out service fee, like other utilities charge you for usage, but not based on you're on top of what you're already paying for your supply and delivery.
I agree.
To call back into that real quick, since you're on that topic.
Oh, thank you for doing it. This is great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. Yep, he's on top of it. I mean,
yeah, he knows his stuff. And look, at the beginning, I have to admit, like when we did the show at first, you're like, well, I want to just talk about you and your history and stuff, which is fine because no one knows more about me than I do. And so I was like, I'll do that show. But don't ask me too many tough questions, right? You can ask, but but the way I approach anything, and I think most people, if you're going to take on a job, you study everything you can find about that job, right? I mean, just so you're prepared. So, I mean, I came in and, public safety I'm pretty good with, and the healthcare, obviously, and public health. But when you start talking about energy, that's not something that just kind of flows off the tongue. The education area, education is really important to me, and I think that, I have these little mini sessions in the morning. I think I told you I was going to do that, and I've been doing it. So 3 or 4 people, teachers I've done a bunch with, I'll sit down and say, hey, what's working, what's not working? Tell me about your job. Tell me what. And so for education, I got an earful about what is going on in the classroom. The teachers are not in control of a lot of these schools because they're not allowed to be. They've been given a situation that's very difficult to manage. And then in other cases, I think some of the statements that are made to students, I think we need to make sure that the whole atmosphere in the school systems is conducive to learning. And I think sometimes it seems like it's they get into a survival mode because they're not allowed to. A kid is breaking up a classroom and they just stand there and watch. And so
you can't have disruption in the classroom
and not wonder why kids are having struggle passing exams, and why basically it's it's the hierarchy of needs. Safety is number one. So if you're in a classroom where there's a kid throwing tables around, or walking, or trying to climb out a window, or who walk out of the classroom and just are walking outside, now a teacher has to run out. I mean, I could not believe the stuff that was going on in the classrooms that some of these teachers told me about. And, I would hope if anyone from the teachers union is listening, I went around for the most part and talked to people, not unions. I'm not anti-union at all, but I wanted to hear from people who weren't going to be afraid that they'd get into trouble or whatever, or that unions are doing the business of being a union. I'm more concerned about why is a teacher who spent their whole life wanting to teach quitting? Like, is anyone asking that question? What's going on in the classroom that this dream that you had as a kid growing up, you're throwing away? Like, are we asking? I don't think we are. And so I just asked them. And the answers were, frightening.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going on too is that the setback of education via COVID is so it's almost you can't calculate it.
Right. Fauci. So again, we could do a 3-hour show. I'll come back.
I'll have you about it.
So Fauci, when he was put in charge, I was like, okay, moderately optimistic. You know, he did okay with the HIV crisis. Not perfect, but he did some things. I was like, okay, he thinks outside the box. He became just somebody who was enamored by himself and loved the attention that he was getting. We now know, looking at his diaries, which he kept on government computers, stupid, really led to the fact that we know that he lied on a lot of things. So when you have the guy who's in charge of the fix of a problem that he largely created, can anyone see any problems there? I see a bunch of problems there, and
that's one reason why I'm pleased that Dr. Rand Paul is leading the charge. I mean, you've got an equal, a peer.
Yeah.
It's not a layperson trying to question a highly regarded physician.
And he will go after people, and so will I. And people have heard me on the radio. I love being a doctor, and I love the people that I worked with. I don't like what medicine has become. It has become. It used to be that if you had doctors and scientists and politicians, whatever, in a room solving a problem, that the physician was I used to say, the adult in the room. They didn't answer to a constituency other than patients and making patients well. They weren't worried about cost. They weren't worried about reputations, covering up, all the things, corporations, we're gonna make a vaccine, we're gonna make it really quick, and we're gonna throw it out there. And by the way, we're using messenger RNA technology, which very little experience with. And when people were having absolute catastrophic consequences to these shots, and they saw an association and they did nothing about it. Tony Fauci, to me, should be in jail. And I'm sorry, and I've said that now for a while. What he did was criminal, and then he lied to Congress. And the whole idea of gain of function research, and this became a nebulous concept. They created something they shouldn't be creating, and he knew about certain things. The risk to women that this RNA piece that will lapse onto your DNA, and by the way, will be there until you die, that gets into the bloodstream and goes into a uterus, and the question becomes, what's the risk now to this woman getting pregnant? I think that's something we should really know about. It got into men's hearts. The whole idea of myocarditis and all these issues coming from it was from the vaccine. And at first it's going to prevent it. Nope, it didn't. Well, it's going to delay the onset of symptoms. Nope, it didn't. It's going to make the symptoms less severe. And that one lasted for a long time until finally now they've debunked it. And so the CDC is actually getting data now and they're acting on it. There was an independent company that looked at all this stuff and they gave a report to the CDC and they're finally doing something about it. So when I say to patients and you go to doctors, ask questions, write them down. Tape them to say, would you mind if I record this? Sometimes I get a little bit confused. You have a right to ask questions. And if you're not getting the answers you want, that you need to get up, stand up, and leave and go to another doctor. And there are a lot of other things, the whole men playing in women's sports, which is a huge issue for me. It is a safety issue, it is a morality issue, it is an ethical issue, it is a fairness issue. I mean, and why the legislators in Connecticut don't see a problem with that. I'm throwing a lot of stuff out at you here, but then they voted against the using a photo ID or a license to vote. Just about everything in your life that you need to do, including if I get Advil, cold, and sinus, I have to use my license. But you can vote, And they're saying that, that they don't really, why do you think they're bringing in all the illegals? So they can vote. The socialist manifesto that came out said, voting for all, whether you're in prison, which by the way they're going to be closing under their thing, but anyone who's here, anyone. So you're from Belgium, and there's no border. We won't have ICE. We won't have border protection. So you're in Belgium. Well, let's truck over to the United States for the weekend. It's going to be a crazy show. I'll say that because I can't say the other word on TV. But it is a crazy show. So that all these people will be voting. The country it will be given away. We are in trouble. And when the answer, and one of the people whose doors I went to said, hey, what's up with the Democrats and no ID for, and I said, I can't figure it out. I can't. I asked them why, and they just know. 80% of the people, by the way, 80% of the people in the country and in Connecticut want photo ID. 80%. Yet the entire Democratic legislature just happens as a block, 100%, to be against it. And so this guy, brilliant that he did it, I'm glad he did, says to Nick, can you please explain to me why, you voted against an ID for voting? And he said, well, it's very difficult for women to figure it all out and to get that done when they if they get married or something. So I did every day when I go out and I hit the doors, I do a 2-minute little video. It's for fun mostly. Sometimes it'll be something serious, but mostly it'll be something fun. People really like it. I got a call one day because I didn't do the video, and I didn't know the guy, but he used my number. It's on everything, and he said, "Hey, are you doing one of your videos?" And I was like, "Well, I was thinking about it." He goes, "Yeah, I really like those." And I was so flattered. I recorded a video. It was at night, but that's all right. So I said on this video, and I'll say it here, if you have friends who are females, call them tonight and just say, we realize that you have difficulty figuring stuff out, and I, as the male, will come in and help you out. Now, first of all, let's see if the phone is not disconnected before you finish that statement. Secondly, if someone made that phone call to me, I'd be like, you stay right there. I'm getting in my car. So, because it's absurd and it's insulting. And they did this with African Americans, like, oh, they're not going to be able to figure out how to get to the DMV. I mean, come on. And no one's calling them on this. It's so racist and insulting. Well, they know how to go to the DMV.
But this is an area that, and when I listened to Tony D on Lee's program,
okay.
Tony will call out the Republicans for not doing what you're saying right now. They're silent.
What?
Why aren't they calling out the Democrats on these types of issues when they're just stepping in left and right, and they should be calling on them and banging the table and letting everybody know.
Disappointment. John Thune has blown it. We have the Defense of America or whatever that has a lot of the voting stuff. They've had that for a year, and all I keep hearing them say, the Republicans say, is, oh, well, we don't have the votes. So what? Do a roll call vote on it. And
everybody on the record.
Yeah, you make me stand up and go, no, I don't think that we should have voter ID. I dare you. These people have votes in the midst of the night. Last session here in Connecticut, they suspended debate on one of the major pieces of legislation because it was getting too late. Too late. You stay in the building until it's done. I mean, there's no end of the day if you're a legislator. Sorry, not during budget session.
Yeah, I mean, another issue, it's huge in London, and I know it's big in other communities within the state, deals with, excuse me, these dirt bikes and hot rods and wheelies and rather very, very unhealthy methods of operating a two-wheeled vehicle. And the local politicians say, we can't do anything. It's the state.
Do you want my answer to how you fix
Well,
this?
I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, so it's simple. You tell people day one that you're not going to put up with it. And then they pull their shenanigans. They're shutting streets down. It's dangerous what's going on in some places. And this is a countrywide issue. But you bring the state police, 500 of them, huge number, and you form a square around them. And then you walk in and you arrest every one of them. Now, this state will never do it because it's one of those states that doesn't believe in arresting criminals. We will, however, give victims a hard time, but we won't help criminals. We won't go after criminals. But if you say to someone, we're arresting you, and there's a downside to that, and if you do it again, we're going to arrest you again, and the legal system will actually give you time in jail. How many times do you think that these kids are going to come out and do the same thing? Not long, right? But they know, they don't care because they know nothing's going to happen to me. Nothing ever happens. So, stuff like this, there was a state, I think it was Florida, in fact, that did just what I said. And they arrested them. That was it. Problem over. Because these guys, when they got arrested, actually got, they got before a judge who gave them time. We're not saying 100 years, but you can't do it. Another thing in terms of protesting, when people protest and close down the streets, I don't know of any, I would be very aggressive about clearing a street during a case like that. Now, being somebody who worked in a transplant team, members of the team who would go out, I didn't really have to do that, would go out and they would, get a heart and they would be trying to bring it back. What happens if you're stuck on a bridge because some jerk is mad about something? So I think that the First Amendment gives us our right to protest, and it is one of the things that saves us. I mean, every country has sort of a First Amendment, but nobody else actually follows theirs. The Soviet Union has one of the strongest First Amendments, the right to assembly and to protest, of any place in the world. But what happens when you do it? You're not seen again. So it's great on paper. Well, we actually have a First Amendment that works. So yes, protest, but not at my house when you're trying to threaten my kids. There's a limit to freedom, and I think we're at that point where we have to have some serious conversations.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's what the assembly is for.
Yeah.
And if we've got a dynamic governor, the governor may set the table in terms of what those important issues are and what he or she would like to see addressed
Right.
by the assembly.
Yeah.
These are important to me. Let's get on it.
Right. And we need a Senate too. So for those folks who, again, are socialists, they believe the Senate should be ended. With the ending of the Senate and the change and the getting rid of the Supreme Court, we have taken a tricameral, but a bicameral House, Senate, and we've gotten rid of it. We no longer are a democracy. It's not going to take all those other things that they're talking about with getting rid of the Department of War and, having no advanced military and, having no borders and, controlling.
Well, what we're getting right now is rot from within.
Right. And some of the people there are truly, picture a group of kids who were their heads filled with anti-American stuff going through their schools. They go to college where it's ramped up even more. The college professors are so Marxist that it's crazy. And so their brains are already at a time being affected. And they get out of college and they can't get jobs. But what they can have is a huge debt. And they're scared and they're angry and they feel like they've been lied to, and to some degree they have, because they've gone to universities that have given them degrees that will mean nothing for them. And then they want to buy a house, they want to get married and have that American dream that they've been hearing about, and they don't see it because the housing market is just a mess. Again, another show which we can talk about why it's happening. But nonetheless, you're a kid in debt, no job, afraid of AI, all this stuff. we can't get angry at these kids who are feeling like they got duped. First of all, they were duped, and they're young, and they want to have that dream. But they don't believe it anymore. It's been beaten out of them. And so when some jerk comes along with socialism, like this is great, like it's never been tried, and failed. I mean, come on.
Well, they're not. See, but they're back to education.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're not teaching that in school.
No. Well, and kids, I think finally one good thing is
the failures of socialism.
Yeah. Absolutely.
/ communism.
Right.
I mean, they're not getting that.
No. Well, and when you're seeing everything as being sort of going in the wrong direction, it's kind of hard for them to see that. The other issue is when I was in high school, and when most kids were in high school, the question was, where are you going to college? And only recently, and I'm psyched about this, are people saying, are you going to college? Because not everyone should go to college. It's great for partying and stuff like that, but there are some kids that are just naturally gifted. I mean, I'm not allowed to touch anything in my house. If I touch a pipe or a wire, we will have a fire department at our house in no time. So, I honor the people who can do things like that, but they've been made to feel like somehow if your hands get dirty, you're somehow not important. It's the people with the dirty hands that have kept the society operating.
Who built the bridges?
Absolutely.
The skyscrapers, the homes.
But we give no credence to that at all. So I think that one good thing that is starting to happen is that kids are going to make decisions based on a different set of questions, and I hope that continues.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, when I was getting out of high school and matriculating into college, that in those days you could actually flunk out of college.
Yeah.
Today it's like, as long as you can pay,
right,
you stay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You can stay as long as you want, as long as you pay.
But some of these colleges, though, have huge endowments, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars. So if you think that this kid coming in with this degree is a good financial bet for them, you put your money on the line. And if this kid in 5 years doesn't have a job because he can't get a job because he got a worthless degree from your college, then you should pay for it. I mean, I say that totally tongue-in-cheek, so don't be freaking out. But in other words, the only skin in the game goes to the 20-year-old kid and his parents, or her parents, or sometimes just the kid, and that's not fair.
It's challenging times with some of these things here.
Yeah.
Some things are out of control now, and how do you rein them back in, or can you?
The greatest challenges that we've had have led to the greatest achievements. And so while I get very down some days about events that are occurring that day and the days before, I think World War II was, and I think what we're facing now is on the scale of a world war in terms of the disruptions and the fear that things could change in a way that are irreparable. That said, the human, the American ingenuity and strength and will always prevail if allowed to. But we have to get up, we have to make calls. When you start hearing people downing and being negative about everything, speak up. Take back your country. This is one of those countries we've hit under.
We're liberty. I mean,
yeah.
And Reagan, and I'll just paraphrase.
Yeah.
I mean, it said that just one generation we were away from losing it all.
Right.
And one generation is not a very long time.
No, and by the way, that clock has been ticking already. So we're not starting with all right, we're going to start counting that generation now. That generation started going down months and years ago. So, folks, look, we used to hide under desks because we were afraid of nuclear bombs hitting. I mean, people shut off their lights, in case planes came during the wars and stuff like that. So we've been through real fear. but we've always succeeded. I believe in the strength. I believe in the excellence of our country, and I that's why I'm doing what I'm doing in some small way to try to say, how do we make Connecticut better? Not that it's bad, but how do we make it better? And if I can leave, then I'm, with having fixed a couple things that maybe gave some hope to some of these young people, that they're feeling like, well, it doesn't matter, whatever happens, everything's gone to heck. But to say to them, things can get worse, don't lose hope. Let's hang in there together. Let's figure out what are your stresses and how do we make some of those things better.
And while we're doing this, creating an environment that young people will want to stay here or come here from other places.
Right. Legally.
As opposed to the brain drain.
Yeah.
And going other places and getting the heck out of here as fast as they can.
Well, I think the problem, though, we have is a little of the opposite. We're getting people that we really are not benefiting from, who are in here, millions of them. So I think that is look, the percentage of people who are coming into the country are being put on Medicaid, excuse me. They're being given free education, free benefits. Meanwhile, if you're in Connecticut, you're watching your taxes going up and up and up. That's not fair. And we've got to have some tough conversations about that. We have to take care of our people.
Yeah. Very good. It's amazing that we are actually running out of time here on this program. We're going to have you back.
That'll be fun.
At least once or twice before this campaign is out here. You bring a lot of.
We got to rush, man. This is. I can't believe where it's going. It's November 3rd.
And it's sneaking up on us.
Yeah.
But in our remaining moment or two here, is there anything that you'd like to share before we have to button up for tonight? Maybe we haven't touched on.
I want to thank the folks that have taken me into their lives, whether it be at their doors or, people are now, I've said to them, hey, if you see me out, stop me. People are doing it now. And we're having great conversations. And we can help each other through this, but you have to be part of the process. You have to get up and vote. You have to bring 2 or 3 people with you so they're voting, because that's how we make change.
And every vote does, in fact, count.
Absolutely. We've seen, single-digit losses. So I say, I'm not an incumbent. I'm not a Democrat. And those are things that, work against you in this state. I think the fact that people's opinion of me and my opponent makes me feel a little bit better, but we got to work hard. And I know that I'm, like I say, 7 days a week. I get up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed at midnight. And I'm almost always working on trying to do this, minus a few hours of TV with my lovely wife or reading books. So, I'm taking care of myself. I had a woman send me a little note saying, are you taking care of yourself? I know that you get crazy and you put all this time into things.
If you have a moment to read a book, Jonathan Turley's got a couple of books.
I love him. Okay.
And I think you'd enjoy his, he's got one on the freedom of speech. That's his first one. And I think you'd find that to be a good mental exercise.
Yeah. Well, and part of what I was taking the sentiment from was, oh my goodness, what's the Supreme Court Justice, heavy Italian guy?
Alito?
No, was it? Yeah, was it Alito? This is terrible. Anyway, he was being interviewed, and he was talking about the amendments, the First Amendment in particular, and how when you look, everybody has them, whatever. But he talked about the power of a First Amendment and how it is. I mean, when you see in Europe, you see people being arrested because of hate speech, which in this country would be just like, I'm fighting back because I don't like what's going on in the streets. And the fact that, Muslim gangs are beating and killing Jews on the streets of London is a problem. And it's a big problem. And the government there has done nothing to put an end to it. And it continues to get worse and worse and worse. So, and when they speak out, they're arrested. Their own people, their own police are arresting them because of hate speech.
It's crazy.
It is.
If I remember, the next time you're in, I'll bring my copy, or if you think of it, you can get your own copy. But Jonathan Turley and his
I will.
the indispensable right to freedom of speech. Doc, thanks so
Thank
much
you
for
very
coming
much.
in. It's been a pleasure. Folks, you've been watching City Focus. Doc Foley, running for state rep in Waterford and Montville, been my guest. It's been a terrific conversation, and we'll have him back in before the election day. And with that, we'll say good night, and we'll see you again next week on City Focus.